Every year, the St. Kitts Water Services Department organizes a week of activities around the World Water Day to heighten awareness of the importance of conserving our precious and scarce water resources. Today, we are joined by Cromwell Williams, manager and water engineer at St. Kitts Water Services Department. He's here to share with us details on the local observance of this international observation. Welcome to you. Good morning, and welcome back, I should say, Mr. Williams.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. It's always great talking with you. I know we had a delightful discussion the last time that you were here. I believe it was a year ago. So on the anniversary, we're celebrating the theme this year, accelerating change. What does that mean?
Right. Well, we live in a world that is constantly changing, and water is no exception to that. We hear a lot today about climate change, and that is no longer something that is seen as speculation or maybe. It is a proven fact that the climate is changing. And so as a result, we have to change. We have to respond as to what that means for our fresh water, our drinking water.
So, I'm not going to say. How long is the celebration, water celebration, been observed here in St. Kitts? The World Water Day internationally, I think, was first celebrated in 1993. It's a day designated by the United Nations to focus on the importance of public awareness about the conservation of water, because it is indeed a scarce and limited resource. Some countries, of course, have it worse than others. In St. Kitts, we have not been the worst off by any means compared to some other countries. But that does not mean that we are not ourselves in a not too favorable position with regards to really how much water we have available for our use. So the designation was celebrated first in 1993, and from around 2000 or so here in St. Kitts, we have, at the Water Department, we have put together a week of activities every year. So 23 years, that's good.
All right, something you said earlier, sir, when speaking to accelerating change, what are those areas that you think that we need to focus on when it comes to change?
Right. I will say one of the first things that we need to look at is our own culture in terms of how we see water, how we value water. One of the things that I would say a revelation that I have had is that everyone in St. Kitts basically knows water is important, but we do not value it. It's a big difference. And I will put that how I understand it. If you take another utility service, for instance, electricity, typically someone might pay about $300 per month. An average family, maybe $200-300 for electricity. They pay $20 to $30 for water, 1/10, 1/8, thereabout. And I'm challenging that, because I think when it comes to valuing something, the best way to show you value something is in your pocket, in your wallet. And I think that is something that we as a country, we have to come to terms with. We do not value water, and because of that, we are going to suffer the consequences, because we're not charging the right rate for it. Persons therefore have no impetus, no motivation to conserve. For 20 plus years, I started in the water department. I haven't been there for the whole 20 plus years, but I started in the water department in 1999. And as immediately upon taking up my position as an assistant engineer, I realized, my eyes were opened, and I realized, wow, we don't have water to play around with. 20 years of development, pressure, all the housing that has happened. When you look around, all the areas that were cane fields 20 years ago are now houses, and big houses with many toilets. And we're still operating as if, water is just there, unlimited. And that is not the reality. But the only thing that is going to make us come to terms with the reality is when we start looking at how we value it in our pocketbooks.
So just to be clear, you are actually saying charging more.
Absolutely.
From your side of things. It's a hard sell. I will tell you that now, because as a consumer, and I know you are a consumer as well, obviously you are, you have inside knowledge that would inform your opinion on that matter. But I imagine if you say that to the public, it's going to become something else. It's going to become a financial issue. It's going to become a political issue. Since I mentioned finances, and we're talking about accelerating change, what can you tell us by way of any financial investments that have been made regarding water? Are you aware of any?
The government has always invested in water. Unfortunately, I don't think that we are investing enough. And that's not just buying pipes and backhoes and pumps and building reservoirs. It starts with the people, the workers. A lot of times in management and business, we think of plant and equipment. But the most important and the first asset that we must always think about is the people. Because without the people, without proper development of the people, we cannot have true financial or business success. I myself would have benefited from the government and the people of St. Kitts and Nevis investing in my education back in 1998. And that, I believe, has redounded significantly to the development of the country in terms of the human resource and understanding how we must manage our water resources in an environment of limitation.
Understood.
So, other than the campaign that goes on World Water Day, how else is the public educated on steps that we can take to ensure that we have water for years to come, at least potable water that we can use to cook, eat, drink for years to come and not?
Right, so public awareness is one of the pillars of managing any utility, whether it be gas, electric, cable, water, any utility service where consumers are consuming the product and the service. Public relations is critical, but it is perhaps most critical for water, because whether or not you, the public, at the end of the day, have water when you open your tap is as dependent on you as it is on me. Because if I provide 1 million gallons of water in the distribution system, but there are lots of persons who have leaking toilets and that water is just going down their toilet, even if they are paying for it because it is so cheap that they can afford to pay for it, because I'm not charging them the real price, then it means that if you are wasting, your neighbor up the road don't have water because you down the road are wasting. There are people in St. Kitts who are using 10 and 20 times what they're supposed to be using. And I've been trying to get people convinced of this over the last 20 years, but very few people are taking us serious. And that is the issue. Now we're on the doorstep of desalination to augment our supplies. Because, as I said, the rapid development over the last 20 or so years, the housing boom and so on, hotel construction and so on. And so we have to find continuously additional sources. So now we have to turn to desalination. Desalination is nothing new. It is all the other islands around us have had to turn to it for decades, some of them. Antigua, about maybe 80%, almost 100% of their water is from desalination, because they don't have the mountains that we have that traps most of the rain, and so they have always had less rainfall. A country like Dominica will not turn to desalination anytime soon because they're high mountainous, 2 times the rainfall that we get. So it depends on the geography, of course, of the island. But St. Kitts and Nevis we are now at that stage where, you know, as we continue to develop, we have to start bringing some desalination into our system. And desalination is much more expensive than our traditional groundwater and spring water.
So it might actually affect the pockets. We might see the increase in the rate there because we're getting desalinated water.
Naturally.
Interesting point. So conservation makes sense from so many perspectives.
It makes absolute sense.
All right, let's proceed now to the World Water Day events, because we had some pre-activities from the 1st to the 17th of March. Primary schools, your competition. As I listened to you speak about changing attitudes, I thought, well, this competition seems to be informing that change that needs to happen with the younger generation to ensure that we have a culture of people who actually appreciate how to conserve water. So what can you tell us about the primary schools DUR competition and also the high schools TikTok competition?
So I must commend my planning committee at the Water Department for organizing these events. I've seen some of the videos that some of the primary school students especially have put together, and it is heartening that they are showing such interest in understanding the importance of water. I think that it will redound to the future. We've also had our open day yesterday, Monday and Tuesday, and we invited the schools to come in. And, you know, these children came in as usual, and they were very interested in learning about their water, how it comes to them, and so on. So we try to do that at least once a year during this week. But I think, of course, there's more need for more sustained collaboration between the Ministry of Education and the Water Services Department to ensure that, you know, it is not just once a year, you know, but it is something that is done as perhaps part of the curriculum, you know, that we go in more often and interact with the students.
That would be a great idea.
So I see on the 19th you had your church service and also the minister's address. So can you tell me a bit of what the minister would have said?
The minister's address, I think it was very, I think he touched on all that needed to be touched on. The accelerating change, the theme. I think even before that, the minister, as you know, we had a change of administration, and the new minister, the Honorable Congress Maynard, himself is an engineer, not a water engineer, but being an engineer, I think he would have quickly grasped the situation with regards to water. And I think he's demonstrated thus far that he is on board in championing and advocating. Matter of fact, he is today at the United Nations, along with some other local persons, where they're having a conference on water. It is a very huge conference at the United Nations. So, yes, the minister would have, you know, indicated that, you know, one of the obvious change that needs to be accelerated is the amount of money that is going to be invested in water, because we need to build more reservoirs. We need to continue to drill new wells. We need to go into desalination. We need to build out the infrastructure. And when I came this morning, I saw you all were talking about different technologies. Water is something that needs a lot more technology. And so that is also something that we need, because we've always seen water in St. Kitts as something simple, low tech, but it is not. Even with the COVID taught us that everything needs to move towards remote technology and so on. If we're locked down in our house, you know, you still need people to go and make sure the water system is working. Yeah. It is possible to stay at your desk at a computer and manage the system to what we call SCADA, supervisory control and data acquisition. That is something you would find in electricity companies and gas companies and in modern water companies and so on. So we also need to invest much more money in water. But as I said, the equipment alone it's not going to solve the problem. You have to start with the people.
Definitely. So there's a lot of information that you just gave to us. As we continue to focus on the World Water Day events, 20th and 21st of March, the exhibition at Legrete. Today you were actually having a staff health fair, which is quite interesting.
Today, yes.
And Customer Appreciation Day and storage tank raffle and a sulcus size. Which of these are you looking most forward to?
I'm going to try the sulcus size this afternoon. I think it's important for us to do things together as a staff and also to take care of our health. I'm very happy that even this morning when I went into the office, the nurses and the doctor are there already, and the persons are already doing their health screening and health checks. Okay. And I think that speaks volume as to the fact that, you know, we as a department, we value the health and well-being of the workers. We might not be able to pay them, you know, as well as we would like to, and so on, but, you know, it at least, I'm happy that the planning committee saw the importance of having, you know, the health fair. And we invite our customers to come in today, as today is Customer Appreciation Day, and we have tokens and so on for them.
And the raffle.
The raffle, okay. So one of our corporate partners, TDC, has donated one of those black storage tanks that we will be raffling to one of our customers. I think it is good because more and more persons are getting interested in having their own storage at home, you know, whether it is 500 gallons, 1,000 gallons. It's important because as we get into more difficult challenges, you know, it's important that when we are not able to supply you for a day or some hours during a day, if you have storage, you know, you can still continue your own operations at home.
Okay. So do you have enough water for the sulcus size this afternoon?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
Okay, we see now. Then tomorrow you have your Farmers Worker Appreciation Day. How important is this?
Sorry, tomorrow is Thursday. Oh, yes.
Yeah,
so, right. So, actually, we would have done that on Sunday during the church service, where we would have given plaques to 3 of our farmer workers. If I can remember the names, Mr. Colin Dorr, Mr. Kervin Hendrickson, and Mr. Courtney Morris. And they are former workers who would have given many years of service. And we are appreciative because even after you have left the Water Services Department, you have retired, we are benefiting. The country continues to benefit from, you know, what you would have invested. Yes, we paid you, but we didn't pay you, you know. It's more than the money. When you invest in water, in the building of the water infrastructure in the country, is more than, you know, the money that you take home at the end of the week or the month.
Definitely true. There is going to be a staff retreat and professional development day. That's on the 24th. And
unfortunately, we had to
cancel that.
Postpone that for later in the year.
I see.
Yeah, because we didn't get through with adequate planning for it.
Okay.
But it is critically important, and it's something that we definitely going to have later in the year.
Well, yes, obviously professional development is really important. Are you able to have the staff appreciation beachnik?
Yes, that is now planned for Saturday instead of Sunday, because apparently a lot of the staff indicated that they wanted to be at the, I think it's the Intersports they're having on Sunday.
Sunday, okay, yeah, that's a big thing.
So we move it to Saturday, yes. So we will be socializing on the beach on Saturday.
I'm probably getting inspiration about desalination at the beach.
hopefully, yes. Yes.
Indeed. Go ahead, Jimmy.
There's a prize giving ceremony on the 28th.
Oh, for the schools? Yes. Those who would have won and participated, yes, in the door competition
and the
TikTok.
Okay.
That's
I am afraid I can't say much about the TikTok. You know, that's a young people thing.
Some hear it.
I can't say too much about that, but I know a little bit about TikTok. But
Well, perhaps you should make a post when you go back to the office today with your staff. And would that be your first one? TikTok. Are you on TikTok? Do you make posts?
No, I'm not on TikTok.
For today, World Water Day 2023, I'm going to challenge you. Make a post.
On a side note, I was listening to a news article. They were talking about TikTok, and they said 2/3 of American teens are on TikTok. And I was just shocked. That's a lot of power that
yes.
software or that company has.
Yes, definitely so. But if you want to reach them,
yeah, I guess. So I guess my staff will be looking into that, you know.
That's his staff. Mr. Cromwell's like, not me.
They will teach me.
Yes.
Okay. So I was reading an article again that says that by 2050, at least 2/3 of the world will experience at least 1 month without water. In closing, what can you tell us here in St. Kitts? Or can you remind us, can you stress on the importance to conserve water so that we are not part of that 2/3?
Okay, so I want to be able to break it down for the average, as they would say, man on the street. What am I really trying to say about the water situation in St. Kitts? All of our water comes from rain. Well, now that we're going into seawater desalination, making fresh water from seawater, technically that will not be true. But as of we speak today, all of the water that the water department captures and distributes to households, businesses, farmers, comes from rain. That's the first thing. I don't think the average man on the street knew that or knows that. It comes from rain. So it doesn't rain every day. There's a wet season and there's a dry season. By the way, sorry, last year, persons would know that we had some challenges providing water for everyone on a 24-hour basis. We had some serious challenges in St. Peter's area, especially for a few months. However, I'm proud to say that I think this morning, over 90, maybe 98, 99% of persons this morning would have had water at their taps. So we're doing a good job. And perhaps, you know, that needs to be stressed. We have been working in ensuring that people in St. Kitts have water, and we have been succeeding fairly well. However, from a few years ago, we were not able to provide that 24-hour service, especially in Basti, and Basti is the capital. That's because we know our demand would have exceeded our supply. So what we're saying is that there are some persons out there who have leaks. Now, persons like to immediately push back and say, well, water department, you have leaks sometimes and you don't go and fix them, sometimes for days and weeks. Some people say for months. I call in about a leak and it's still there. There are exceptions, yes, that might happen on some exceptional occasions. But what I'm saying to the average man on the street, there are a lot of persons out there who have leaking toilets and so on in their houses. They are using a lot of water. They're wasting a lot of water. Every person, every household needs to check to see how much water they're using. And we are to blame because there are a lot of persons who do not have a working meter. Now, the meter is what is important because that is what measures. If we can't measure water, we can't manage it. That's the first step for us to manage water. We must be able to measure it. That means a meter. I should have walked with a meter so people can see what it looks like. It's about this size. That is the key to it, the meter. That is what tells us this month you use 1,000 gallons or you use 5,000 gallons. Or sometimes we see some persons use 30,000, 50,000. I said to the meter reader, go back and check again because maybe you made an error in reading the meter. He goes back, he checks, he says, no, it's correct, 50,000 gallons. And then the person comes in screaming, you guys are crazy. This is not a hotel or a hospital. How could I use 50,000 gallons? because you have one or more toilets in your house that's been running water every day. You go on to work 24/7, your toilet running water down into your septic tank, into the ground. And so that you use 50,000 gallons when you were supposed to use 5,000. You have used 10 times the water you were supposed to use. You have robbed 9 other persons in your area the opportunity to have a reliable supply of water. And that is the crazy, ridiculous reality that we're facing here in St. Kitts. And we need to wake up and face up to it. Building a large desalination plant is a solution, but it's not the right environmental solution. Because we have water that we are wasting, going and getting more water from the sea. Yes, eventually we will have to, but we need to stop those persons who are wasting water first.
Okay.
Well said. Two-part process. It's going to work together. Conservation, desalination, and whatever other technical innovation.
Yes. There are other things such as roof catchments. In St. Kitts, roof catchments, what do you call it again? Yeah, in St. Kitts, traditionally, persons don't really catch water from their roof to use. But that is something that we need to start looking seriously at.
Storage.
It will be much cheaper than desalination.
That's also
so
true.
that is something that we all need to look at.